Co-Creation Learning projects. We're a project of the United Charitable Programs, also known as UCP, a registered 501c3 public charity. Now, UCP focuses on getting local nonprofits viable with oversight components that lay a secure foundation for their programs to thrive. And really important is that they provide fiscal oversight, which is so important in today's market to ensure that the funds are well serving their intended purpose. This is Antakarana's introduction to our mission overview, investing in the 21st century, which we know starts now. We're going to be looking at some career opportunities and consciousness healing. But remember, this is an overview, so we're not going to get into too much detail, but we will get you in touch with the big picture and expected outcomes or results. We need results, right? Now, Antakarana is in the business of initiating paradigm shifts. Now, you may ask, what's a paradigm? Well, a paradigm is a standard or a model, a pattern, the way things are done. For example, we have here a very common one of hierarchies. If we were to look at education, we could see where the student-teacher ratio is not really a very healthy one. Way too many students per teacher. What's a paradigm shift? It's a radical change in the basic assumptions about or our approach in how we do something. And in this case, we would be looking at a non-hierarchical and an appropriate teacher ratio. But a paradigm shift will be anything that is a radical shift in the thinking. Now, what I'd like to do is introduce you to a BHAG. A BHAG is a big, hairy, audacious goal. And our BHAGs are our mission formulated into goals for attracting participants to make them happy. As you can see, a BHAG is a very big picture. It's a results-oriented point of view and a source of motivation. BHAGs look at a very big picture. So we have our eagle at the top of an ascending spiral of creating a long-term business. As you can see, our eagle has a point of view where he can see everything from the top. This is an all-inclusive viewpoint. A BHAG then works at steps from the beginning where the problem initiated, and slowly, with baby steps, we can safely and cautiously make our ascent. The problems initiate the BHAG thinking for resolution, and with the BHAG in mind, we find that we will seek answers for the long haul. Now, our BHAGs are our mission formulated into desperately needed social change goals for attracting participants to make them happen. Now, you might be asking, how did we get to a state of desperately needing? Well, we did it by ignoring, obfuscating issues, covering things up. And it has caused problems in the educational system to magnify, as well as in our consciousness. And it has made these problems huge. So now we need goals requiring a revolution of a healing kind, including resolving the conflicts as part of the solution, not so much myopically anchored to the problems themselves. Now, people empower BHAGs, and we empower people with education and support to be part of the solution through its phases of implementation. Yes, solutions. This word is not misspelled. It was done this way to highlight your attention to something very important to understand. Soul solutions are from our inner potential, and they're sourced from alignment with universal forces of good and the power of principle itself. Spirit is far-reaching and superficial in nothing. So this means we get to the seed and root causes with its approach and awareness. So soul and BHAG, important, very important. I'd also like to draw your attention to support through its phases of implementation. This is to be sure we get the job done without gaps, creating new cracks in the new system. So, in a nutshell, that's our intention. Yet, without people embracing these visions as their own motivation and making it happen with certification and other cooperative efforts, well, it simply remains a dream. Societally, we urgently need the changes our BHAGS address. It's time for us to stop dreaming. That keeps us in idle mode. No change, nothing really happens to reverse the downward trends that are accelerating with kids as our, quote, acceptable, unquote, losses. Let's see what I mean by this. But remember, we can't do the same thing and keep expecting different results. We do know this. So we have 3 BHAGS on the table to discuss with you. All of them are powerful investments. We doubt anyone will argue that these BHAGS aren't long overdue and ready for. So how can we help you figure out your part and how to do it? What are your gifts and insights that you can bring to the table? Let's check out these 3 BHAGS that we have on the table and see what they're all about. What are their opportunities, and how might you fit in? Our first BHAG, Antakarana creates a BHAG for new educational business cycle. This is to suffer our kids no more with inferior, incomplete education. There is not a school here and not just a school there for just a special few, but for everyone, because what location and what people do not need these changes, are not worthy of the big changes we're going to be talking about. So our BHAG is initiating, at its heart, is initiating a replicating educational alive system. Alive means perennially responsive, as in green and growing. Now, the thumbnail of our idea can be summed up in the words, whole education. It's time to rethink education and how to graduate students as 21st century adults, meaning no more compulsory indebtedness of college degrees because we haven't finished educating them to meet their world when they graduate. It's an awareness vision to nurture education as a healthy and prosperous business. We cannot continue with top-heavy administration management and things like tenure where people who don't care about their work anymore and are doing minimally productive work to continue when the action in the classroom is where the students are. And that's where they're learning. They need to be learning for life, not test prepping. What does that have to do with anything? Not only is this boring, it's breeding apathy, not only in students, but also teachers and parents and people in general. So how is that useful to creating prosperity and peace? This paradigm also includes career opportunities to make it happen. Finally, a plan that includes creating a school system where teachers are encouraged to give and given tools to create a school environment that they and their students can thrive in and love learning. It starts now with commitment and follow-through to re-educate yourself, to learn how to have multi-level intelligence teaching, a tool bag that you can use, and with these abilities you can teach, and most importantly, a place to do it that's open and receptive. Then you can teach, and the dominoes will fall. It's not hard to imagine that this path is one that will lead to success. And our empowerment is spelled Y-O-U. You. Nothing changes till we change, right? Now there's basically 3 bottom liners that we'd like to plug in to initiate the type of change that's going to make this difference to bring in whole education. It starts by we have to rethink it. It involves a willingness to rethink the business of education. So we start with business psychographics and what society, parents, future indicates are missing gaps in education and the like. Secondly, we formulate an educational paradigm shift from a synthesis and systems point of view. Now, synthesis is an idea of pulling it all together for integral weaving. And a systems is a big picture into all the little pictures that are woven together via baby steps so that we can handle and grow without overwhelm. And the collapse that too fast, too quick, and too big would happen if we weren't pacing ourselves and monitoring ourselves as we go. It needs to be alive with the best pedagogy available. Now, this just makes sense. Why I even have to mention this is amazing and not in a positive way. We act like, oh, we can't. Really? If we don't effectively teach love of learning and values and with good methodology, how are they going to learn it? By osmosis? Well, how's that working for us? Think about it. We have violence, gang proliferation. We have things like talking about dumbing down ad nauseum. Bucky Fuller spoke prolifically to such ideas. It's simply time to do it. And we can do it. But we've got to have a plan, and we do. We need you. Thinking about it, thinking it over, is not doing it. Realistically, we can't achieve something till we start attempting to do so, okay? So, it can't start till we start it, and that starts now. Do we really need to wait any longer for any more failure, for any more children to grow up, graduating, not prepared? The second bottom liner that we need to plug in here is to visualize it. Whole education to graduate students as 21st century adults prepared to live prosperous lives. Now visualize this. They are able to pay their bills with dignity upon graduating, raise kids, lift the expensive burden of unlearning with no compulsory debt, and to be peacemakers. What is there not to like in this? Remember, an educational system and support timeline for a better world future does start now for a 21st century result. It will have to include things like no more mandatory compulsory, you got to go to college as a means to be prepared and able to graduate without having to incur the unavoidable educational debt and distraction from their career and raising their families. You know, adults in their 20s are driven to procreate. Do we really need to explore this? I think not. Now, the third bottom liner that we'd like to plug in so that we can initiate a change that really makes a difference in holism education is to do it. Whole education made possible by emerging an avant-garde evolution in the career of teaching, becoming a new breed of certified teachers called Matea. Now this is a thumbnail sketch and is not the forum for delving into this concept completely. It is to open the door to an awareness that it must be part of the solution for it to work, so that we won't have drag, resistance, and griping, and all the other types of energy that would try to break it apart before it even got going. Suffice it to say, whole education requires a holism education path, and this includes the training of the teachers. The teachers are the beginning of this new paradigm shift. So we're introducing an achievable opportunity of becoming a certified Matea, a new type of teacher. Computers brought us a ton of careers. That's the nature of a paradigm shift. And really, this is no different. And really, Matea is a very exciting idea. I can't wait to share it with you. They will be able to usher in the paradigm shift by being proactive, establishing and modeling team teaching schools.